I want to keep digging into this midterm election stuff, and fortunately, I'm joined by someone who has spent her entire career in politics and knows the good, the bad, and the ugly because she has literally lived it. Huma Abedin has been described as Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman. She was the vice chair of Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, and before that, she was the traveling chief of staff and deputy chief of staff when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Her memoir is called Both and: A Life in Many Worlds, and it's now available in paperback. Welcome, Huma. And I have practiced your name because so many people say it so many different ways, but just to be definitive about it, it is Huma Abedin, correct?
That's correct, Ashleigh. It's nice to be on with you tonight.
It's nice to be on with you, too. Thanks so much for doing this. It's good to see you. I want to dive right into what's really popping in the news today, and it's what I was just talking about, the Herschel Walker story. It's got a lot of people on the left thinking that this is the nail in his coffin, and then others at 30,000 feet saying these days candidates, they have weathered a lot worse. And I'm wondering, with your, vast experience, how do you see this story and the politics like this playing out?
Well, for me, just watching the clips before I was on just now, I mean, the notion of somebody's child on camera saying the things that I saw Herschel Walker's son say, I have to say, hurts my heart. It just is a reminder of politics really is personal in every way. And I have a feeling that this is not the last that we've heard on this particular story. I have been in politics a long time, 26 years. I'm dating myself now. But it is, I do remember the days where you were referring to the October surprise and sort of these big moments, and we lived at one point in the 24-hour news cycle, and now it's 24 seconds, and there's a different story a minute. So how this breaks through, what facts come out, it seems that remains to be seen. But what I will say about this particular, this particular story, I mean, ultimately, it's in some ways not even about him. It's about the role of government in people's lives. I mean, the fact that we are having a conversation about abortion rights in this country, and I think most Americans do agree and believe that this is a decision, this is a choice that women should make with their doctors, their family, and their higher power. And it shouldn't even be something that we're talking about with our government officials.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think a lot of people look at politics today and they just sort of wonder, where are we? Like, this candidate quality business. Can you get away with anything? Can you do anything as long as, your party wants, the seat? The candidate quality that Mitch McConnell talks about doesn't seem to matter. And I'm going to go back in time to figure out how we got here. Some people say it was Donald Trump and his behavior in the White House that was appalling, and it sort of let all the standards sort of fly out the window. And other people say it might have been Bill Clinton in the White House, who, had his own scandal with Monica Lewinsky. I know this is hard for you because you're close to the Clintons, but I think it's a fair question to try to assess decorum, demeanor, and, the quality of the person's character. How do you think we got to the point where it's a close race when all those things Herschel Walker has done and said doesn't matter?
Well, we've been a partisan country for a long time. I remember the days of the Clinton administration very well. I do write about it in detail in my memoir, and I do go and do talk about some of those difficult conversations. I did live through the impeachment year, but the difference, I would say, is, I think back then, at least we had this notion of a candidate or a president who was doing a lot of good things. And I think that the thing that I have seen transition over time is that you often get attention when you just say things that are either extreme or just shocking, and you're not necessarily doing things. And I think this personality, it's sometimes campaigns have turned into personality contests when if you don't have an issue. I mean, I worked for somebody who you would argue is one of the most qualified candidates, full stop period, that being Hillary Clinton. She ran for Senate twice. She ran for president twice. No one argued that she wasn't fully qualified. because she was, but she didn't, have the lights and fireworks necessarily, and didn't break through in some ways. And, we dealt with all kinds of challenges. So how much has changed, I think, is rather dramatic. And I think social media has played a very, very large role in that. You had the ability to control the narrative, to talk about an issue that was important to you, a substantive policy issue. It's very, very hard to break through. So you have the doers, people like Joe Biden, our sitting president, who has done a lot to move this country forward and continues to do a lot. But we often, we've now gotten used to kind of the dramatic show. I mean, Ashleigh, you remember in 2016, and we would sit and look at these empty podiums because we'd want to see what was going to be the latest show that we were all going to watch when Trump came on. And so a lot has changed in terms of what it takes to break through. And there's a difference between saying and doing. And I'm in the doing side of politics. And there's a lot of people who just spend a lot of time saying.
So you mentioned your book, and I want to ask you a little bit about your book. Obviously, you talk a lot about who you are and where you came from. People might not know you're born from Indian and Pakistani parents. You grew up in Saudi Arabia. You were born in the U.S. but grew up there. You wore hijab, and now here we are in this. I like to call it the Persian Spring as opposed to the Arab Spring because it's happening in Iran. But I just want to get your thoughts about what you think is going to happen. Is this yet another conflagration that will get a lot of media and a lot of hopes up that there might be some change coming in Iran for women? Or is this just yet another thing that will pass?
Well, you're obviously referring to the death of Mahsa Amini, which I, like many millions of people around the world, watched in shock and fury to see that she died in the hands as a result of a beating while she was in police custody for wearing improper hijab. And I do appreciate your pointing out where I did grow up and how I was raised, because I didn't grow up in a democracy, and I think it's one of the things that Americans don't necessarily, those of us who live here don't often think about the privilege, the great privilege it is to live in a democracy, and how we really need to cherish that. As it relates to Iran, I don't think that we know yet what these protests will result in. It seems as though this protesting the hijab law, I mean, in a perfect world, the perpetrators would be held accountable, but we don't live in a perfect world. But it's almost like it was the spark, and I talk about this in the book, the Tunisian fruit seller in December 2010 who lit himself on fire because he was literally struggling to make a living, and that sparked protests throughout the region. And this is more than just protesting the hijab law, which is the mandatory covering of women in Iran. This is, you could argue that Iranian women have been protesting this hijab law in one way or another for the last 43 years. But this is, again, about controlling society. It's about controlling women, men, and children. When you look at the statistics, 65% of college graduates are women, 70% of graduates, STEM graduates, are women. If these girls, I mean, I had goosebumps. I remember as a teenager, Ashleigh, walking around the streets of Saudi Arabia, needing to make sure that I was covered. And if a slip of hair came out, just being really nervous, a 13, 14-year-old girl wanting to be covered properly so the religious police wouldn't stop me and tell me to cover up properly. And the fact that these teen girls, Iranian girls, are uncovering themselves, the gutsiness that takes, I think just needs to be applauded and encouraged, and the more we can talk about it, which is why I appreciate you asking me about it, the better it is. But where it ends up, I don't know. I was talking to a friend earlier who basically says it's basically the Islamic Republic versus the people of Iran, and that's how they summarize what's happening there.
So watch this space. And I have so many more questions that I have for you. I definitely want to get you on the comparison between Hillary Clinton's emails and Donald Trump's documents at Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure you knew that was coming. So when we come back after the break, Huma Abedin is going to talk to me a little bit about how Hillary Clinton's camp watched all of this unfold and what they've been thinking as they see all this evidence. That's next. Welcome back. It comes out in dribs and drabs, but each little drib drab is a cliffhanger, and we got another one tonight. According to the Washington Post, sources say Donald Trump may have asked one of his lawyers to lie for him about those documents that he took from the White House. The report says it happened in January and that Trump asked his lawyer to tell the National Archives that there were no more documents left at Mar-a-Lago, period, even though there were still plenty of documents left at Mar-a-Lago. That lawyer, Alex Cannon, reportedly refused to lie for the former president, presumably because he knew what the president was saying wasn't true. And we know it wasn't true because when the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago on August 8th, they found more than 100 classified documents, some of them actually in Trump's desk drawer. And then they found thousands of other documents there as well. Still with me is Huma Abedin. She was the deputy chief of staff to Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State and the vice chair of Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. So your memoir is both and A Life in Many Worlds. It's now available in paperback. And I think, you arguably became a household name, Huma, when the FBI Director James Comey told lawmakers that you had forwarded some emails from Hillary Clinton that contained classified information. You sent them to your then husband, Anthony Weiner's laptop. And then all of this started to happen. And it's been, bonkers ever since. So first question is your reaction to what you saw coming out of Mar-a-Lago, and then Hillary Clinton's, if you've had a chance to talk to her about what she's been thinking about all of these developments since that raid.
Well, just to clarify, as you mentioned, the emails, as it related to me in the 2016 campaign, I didn't forward any classified emails. I didn't have classified emails on my email to Anthony's laptop. It was there were State Department emails that were unclassified that I forwarded, and in many cases, as it was reflected in those notes, they were articles and things to be printed, but they were sent on an unclassified system. And look, Hillary has done plenty of interviews herself in the last few weeks. She is the first person. She has said this about 1,000 times now that she made a mistake using a private server when she was Secretary of State. And I think after 7 congressional hearings and 2 Trump State Department investigations as well, it was determined that there were no classified violations undertaken by her. And so here we are all these years later, and she was cleared of any wrongdoing. I do write in detail in the book about how that, we talked earlier about the October surprise, that October surprise impacted the campaign. It was obviously had a devastating effect when the FBI reopened the investigation into her use of emails at the State Department, and then 2 days before the election, saying that there was nothing new in those emails. And so that is something I do have to live with. It's been a very hard thing to reconcile, but I think the most important point is that she was cleared of any wrongdoing and she was fully investigated for that behavior, which is not the case, here. It still remains to be seen. I feel like in some ways we're just at the beginning. We're just learning what's happening, and I only know what I read in the paper as it relates to what's happening with the Mar-a-Lago documents. But I think it's a fact that people know that there were thousands of documents that were found, hundreds marked classified and top secret, and I'm familiar with those documents. And so we'll let the legal system play out. And I think all Americans should expect Donald Trump to be held accountable, just like we expect any elected officials to be held accountable.
Let me ask you, Donald Trump used to do a lot of things to a lot of people via Twitter, and he did something to you as well. I mean, he wrote, this is going to be word salad. I can't really make out the whole tweet myself, but there's something key in there. It started this way. It was January 2nd, 2018. He wrote, crooked Hillary Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, has been accused of disregarding basic security protocols. She put classified passwords into the hands of foreign agents. Remember sailors' pictures on submarine. Jail, exclamation point. Deep State Justice Department must finally act, question mark, also on Comey and others. I can't make out a lot of that, and I know that you've already cleared up exactly, and I apologize for saying that you had forwarded classified. But that last part, jail, having a sitting president actually say that you should go to jail, I think that's got to be pretty rattling, and I just wanted to know what you thought and did after you saw that tweet.
I don't remember seeing that tweet. In fact, I mean, I know it happened. I certainly was told about it. It didn't sound like much English to me back then, and it doesn't sound much like English to me now. I think I have been in politics long enough to have become, in some ways, inured to some of the attacks and accusations that have been thrown at me. That was certainly a harsh one. It was certainly not the only one. And, you know, I think one of the ways that I made it through a lot of those days was just focusing on my work and just having faith in the investigations clearing, you know, my colleagues and I and my boss, and just kept my head down. And that's how I made it through. It certainly wasn't easy to hear, but that one tweet is not, sadly, very sadly, Ashleigh, that I say this, is not the harshest thing that I've heard people say. I mean, the notes, the messages that I got, and the texts, the messages on Twitter in the days leading up to election. My gosh, if I could share those with you, I mean, those were
what I hate.
Pretty horrific.
It's what I hate, Huma. I hear this from all sides of the political spectrum. It is revolting how people treat people who they think don't think like them. But I just want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us on all these different issues, because I know it's you're talking to me mostly about the book. It's called Both and: A Life in Many Worlds. But I appreciate you weighing in on the news of the day, too. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me, Ashleigh. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.